భారత రిజర్వ్ బ్యాంక్ గవర్నర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. లైవ్ లో చూద్దాం.
US dollar and Indian rupee sell by swap auction which was conducted on April 26th. These also suggest that system level liquidity remains ample. Therefore, in keeping with the stance of withdrawal of accommodation and in line with the earlier announcement of gradual withdrawal of liquidity over a multi-year time frame, it has been decided to increase the cash reserve ratio CRR by 50 basis points, that is 50 basis points to 4.5% of net demand and time liabilities, that is NDTL, effective from the fortnight beginning 21st May 2022. The withdrawal of liquidity through this increase in the CRR would be of the order of rupees 87,000 crore. Sustained high inflation inevitably hurts savings, investment, competitiveness, and output growth. It has pronounced adverse effects on the poorer segments of the population by eroding their purchasing power. I would therefore like to emphasize, I repeat, I would therefore like to emphasize that our monetary policy actions today, aimed at lowering inflation and anchoring inflation expectations, will strengthen and consolidate the medium-term growth prospects of the economy. The policy decisions of today are aimed at containing inflation spike, are aimed at re-anchoring the inflation expectations. At the same time, the policy will eventually result in strengthening and consolidating the medium-term growth prospects for the economy, because a high inflation, as is known very well to everyone, is detrimental to economic growth. So therefore, our decision should be seen as growth positive. We remain mindful of the possible near-term impact of higher interest rates on output. Our actions will therefore be calibrated. I would like to further stress that monetary policy still remains accommodative, and our approach will be to focus on a careful and calibrated withdrawal of pandemic-related extraordinary accommodation, keeping in mind the inflation growth dynamics. It is reiterated that the RBI will ensure adequate liquidity in the system to meet the productive requirements of the economy in support of credit offtake and growth. I would like to now focus on the external sector briefly before turning to the the concluding para. India's external sector has remained resilient amidst formidable global headwinds. Provisional data suggest that India's merchandise exports remain strong in April this year, and services exports reached a new high in March 2022. Potential market opportunities have opened up due to geopolitical conditions and the recent trade agreements. And a few more trade agreements are also expected to materialize in the coming months. Strong revenue guidance by major information technology companies, that is IT companies, also bodes well for the overall external sector outlook in 2022-23. The worsening of the terms of trade driven by higher commodity prices could have implications for current account deficit in the current year, but it is expected to be comfortably financed. Net foreign direct investment flows have remained robust despite some recent moderation. Long-term flows such as external commercial borrowings remain stable. India's foreign exchange reserves are sizable, with net forward assets providing a strong backup. The external debt to GDP ratio also remains low at 20%. Let me now conclude. The last 2 years are a saga of our determined fight against the daunting challenges posed by the pandemic and now the war. We rose to these challenges to safeguard the economy and the financial system from a maelstrom of shocks. We now stand at a crucial juncture once again. We in the RBI remain steadfast in our commitment to contain inflation and support growth. Inflation must be tamed in order to keep the Indian economy resolute on its course to sustainable and inclusive growth. The biggest contribution to overall macroeconomic and financial stability as well as sustainable growth would come from our effort to maintain price stability. Let me repeat this sentence, which is very important. The biggest contribution to overall macroeconomic and financial stability as well as sustainable growth would come from our effort to maintain price stability. As several storms hit together, our actions today are important steps to steady the ship. We remain watchful of the incoming data and information to constantly reassess the situation and the outlook. We will be proactive and flexible in our approach. Despite challenges, it is comforting to note that the fundamentals of our economy remain strong and we are well placed to deal with the situation emanating from the global developments. In fact, the IMF has recently pointed out that the macroeconomic management of the pandemic in India has resulted in a strong recovery and the country is in a good position to face the current external shock. Let me repeat what I have said earlier. I am an eternal optimist. My colleagues in the Reserve Bank and I strongly believe that our chosen path will guide us to a better and brighter tomorrow. As Mahatma Gandhi said, I have had my share of disappointments, uttermost darkness, but I am able to say that my faith has ultimately conquered every one of these difficulties. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay well. Namaskar.